from West USA Realty. This is Don't Do That with managing broker Bob Stevens, aka Broker Bob. What do you have for us today, Bob?
Well, good afternoon. We've got a few things here, as we always do, and it's new. Is it new? I guess it's new stuff. I know the commissioner got involved in one here, so we'll talk about that. We listened to a Zoom meeting put on by Rick Mack. He runs a legal hotline down here, one of the attorneys. And he went on and said what his problems have been this past week, and one of them has been the agents seem to be on edge, and they have bad tempers and so on and so forth. And he says everybody's got to remember they need to live up to higher standards than that, and to be getting all out of squirrely and out of sorts here. He says something to think about. You're representing clients, and you don't want to come across that way to where nobody wants to work with you. You want to take care of the client is where you want to be. So that was the first thing he started out. Then COVID evictions, that's still on hold pretty much until we get through the end of the year. It's bad stuff. I don't know. And there's something holiday. These are attorneys, and COVID-19 urgent legal news. If anybody wants a copy of this, I'd be happy to shoot it over to you. It's about a page, darn near 2 pages. The governor's executive order. And some of this is pretty, well, I don't know that it's even self-explanatory. You may need to call this attorney here. And so if you need it, let me know. COVID news. You really need to read that and understand it, because sometimes it's pretty tough when you're not getting your rent and different things going on. You need to keep the owners updated, and sometimes they refuse to show these properties. Well, of course, there's a 48-hour reasonable notice that was noted by Rick Mack. And sometimes you may not want to go into some of these houses if they have some kind of an issue like that. I know I would not, but and then there's also you could video the property. That's another way of doing it, showing it to buyers that are going to buy the property or tenants that want to rent it. Of course, if people aren't moving out, there's not going to be any tenants going in there much. And then the next item was multiple offers. Sometimes houses sold twice, it says here, because agents did not handle multiple offers correctly. So I wanted to let everybody know that there's multiple counter offers, multiple buyers, no verbals. And that's what a lot of agents get into, is verbals back and forth, talking with each other. If it's not written, it doesn't exist. It needs to be in writing and sent back and forth, and don't get in big discussions back and forth. Another one is that you must reject offers every time. If you get 10 offers in there, then they need to be rejected and signed by the seller. Also, Judy Lowe, and you'll be hearing a part by her. I don't know when they're going to put it on for West USA here, but she said absolutely every contract must be signed, rejected, or accepted, one way or the other, and she's going to be looking for that, and that falls on both brokers to get that done. Agents don't do it. They don't do it. Some do, But most of them don't. They just call up the other agent, say, yeah, they rejected it. But it's got to be in writing and sent back to the agent to be presented to the person who made the offer, because we're having a lot of issues there, a lot of arguments. And sometimes an owner will take an offer that's less than some other party made, and they don't understand why, and they want to know why, and they'll think that their offer was better and the seller has to take it. No, no, they don't. They just don't have to do that. So a lot of these things have to be put in writing. And then, of course, there is the multiple, multiple offer, multiple counter offer. Here it is. Seller's final acceptance on that. It says signature by seller below and delivery to buyer or the buyer's broker as indicated above creates a binding agreement. Seller revokes all other counteroffers, but they all have to be by separate notice. So each and every one of them has to go back as being revoked. So don't forget that. If you don't do that, you're going to have some problems, because legal hotline is getting hit with lots of this stuff where, well, agents think they're right. Some think they're wrong. So take and read that. It's line 40 of the multiple counteroffer seller response. You revoke stuff. So understand how that works. And this gets pretty hot sometimes. And legal hotline gets all of the folks calling up down there. And the next thing was line 473, a rejection of a contract. If it's rejected and it did not have a counteroffer, just rejected, every time, that's the words here. Judy Lowe says every time she wants one of those in file for at least 1 year. And of course, if it eventually turns into a contract, it has to stay in file for 5 years. So does everybody understand that? Well, most of the folks have been around for a while, but then the newer people just getting into the business maybe don't quite understand this. So they need to brush up and understand that. The best way to do is listen to a program such as this one. So delivery is effective. The agent gets direction from seller to present all offers at a certain time. Well, that's always a fun one. Certain time, but some of the agents will write in, and I've said this before, but I'm just saying this again because Rick Mack talked about it the other day on line 438. It says, if no signed acceptance is received by this date and time, which is written above there, this offer shall be deemed withdrawn. And a lot of agents don't know that this line is in here. And the buyer's earnest money shall be returned. Well, it is indeed. It's in here. So understand what that says. And I wouldn't make this line 437. I wouldn't make that real quick. A lot of people want an answer by this afternoon or something. Now, lay off. Give them a little time to think about it. If I got 10 offers coming in, I'm going to take time to think about it. And I may just reject yours real quick. So watch out for that stuff, and they will be signed and turned into the broker as a rejected contract if they're not accepted. Make sure you take care of that stuff. Okay. Pre and post possession. And there is coming some stuff there. It's strange. Everybody wants to do this now because they couldn't buy a house or something and they can't get out right away. Had one the other day for 20 days. Somebody wanted to post-possess the property for 20 days. As I got the information from Rick Mack here, he says, get legal advice before you ever do anything like this. And another thing he says here, I can tell you this is my advice. Don't do it ever. But it's going to happen anyway. People are going to do these little pre-possession things and post-possession. Not much for pre-possession, but that post-possession is, it's on the loose right now. Everybody's doing it. But be very careful of that. And we've got the forms here. Here they are, pre and post possession, written up by Susan. They're pretty good. There are 2 pages of stuff that people agree to, but that has to be in writing before anything happens. And you got to know that you're safe with this stuff. I guess after 7 days, you should have a lease agreement. Well, that's okay, but that's subject to the Landlord-Tenant Act, if you get a lease agreement. And what does that mean? Well, it means that you're going to be subject to the COVID regulations. And different things can happen here. And if it's not subject to Landlord-Tenant Act, it might be easier to handle because there's no declaration by the president on down to the governor of the state. We're not going to throw people out because of COVID. So some things to think about there. That this is weird and hard to work with sometimes. You call a broker. One of us will kind of guide you through this stuff. We're going to have another broker here pretty soon. I forgot when, but we got another one coming in, so we're going to have plenty of broker help. Let's see. Here's somebody that's making offers, and Rick Mack noted this. They got a non-refundable earnest money, so make sure you know where that's going. Non-refundable earnest money, and how do you do that? You use the additional clause addendum because you don't know how to write it up, is what I'm going to tell you. Won't write it up so that it's the way it should be. So additional clause addendum, I would carry one in my back pocket all the time. And here's, for instance, non-refundable earnest money. Agents are making up stuff out there, and some of it is kind of weird. As a matter of fact, one even wrote in there, the buyer wants to pay 1% of the commission that the seller has to pay out. It's going to give him 1% of the commission so he doesn't have all of that load, and added that in there. Oh my goodness. And there's waivers of appraisals. So agents will call me and say, how do you write that? Well, use the additional clause addendum. It's all written out for you. You just got to make a little X here, waiver of appraisal. This is some pretty good stuff here. And the backup contract, that's happening a lot too. Backup contract, buyer may cancel his backup contract any time prior to receipt of seller's notice of cancellation of the prior contract. So you can get out of it real easy. You don't have to put any earnest money down yet. So it's really written up nice. And then there's the non-refundable earnest money. Oh my goodness. That is a tough one there. So if it's non-refundable, have you thought about the other ways that it is refundable? Like if you don't qualify for the loan, then it would be refundable. But in this little piece they've got here, Buyer acknowledges that buyer's earnest money shall be non-refundable even if the premises fail to appraise for the sales price, or the loan contingency is unfulfilled. See, they added a couple things in there to make it more non-refundable. Well, these are written up real well. All cash sale appraisal contingency, tax deferred exchange, 1031. It's got the words in here. They're all set to go. So watch it and try to grab onto this additional clause addendum and use it more often. Lenders and appraisers are very busy, and you can cure people if not timely closed. And then sometimes you ask for the LSU and you can't get anybody to fill it out. So he let us know, Rick Mack did, that the buyers can fill it in and sign it, the LSU. After the 10 days, they know what kind of a loan they're going to get. They know what the interest rate, they know all of this stuff. They can fill it in and sign it and send it to comply with the LSU that somebody has asked for after 10 days. I did not know that. So that's a good point to have been made there by Rick. I thought it was interesting, all the things that he talked about, and then he had people asking him questions. December 4th, he's going to do another session, so maybe you get a chance to tune in on it. I understand that he's supposed to have this recorded, but I couldn't find it earlier, or I'd give you the way to get in there. So see if I can find it later and let you know where you could hear that. It's a 1-hour bit that he does there. And another thing, I got somebody really going after me this morning here. That wanted she wanted she wanted her money back when she moved out of a tenancy, and we'd love to give it back to her, but she did not leave a forwarding address. So per the lease agreement and everything, our guy just sent it to the old address. And it says in the tenant obligations upon vacating premises that the mail will be forwarded, it says here, and the keys to the house turned in, and everything will happen here. And I think we've got 14 days to do all of this stuff here. As a matter of fact, it's a little more than that. I don't think they count they don't count the weekends either. So she was really mad this morning, and she's going to be charged $25 as a stop payment because he sent the check out already. So now we got to have a stop payment on that. I said, well, we'll see what goes on, but it's $25, as he said, because it's in your contract. So now they're going to come out with a couple of new forms. Here. As a matter of fact, they are listening agreements, ER and EA. I looked them over and they sent them to me, as they always do, but there wasn't much to be changed in there. It's a pretty good form. So all of us turned in our thoughts on that. So hopefully well, it's not due till February, actually, is when they're going to come out with it. And I sent in a request for a new form. I haven't liked this form in a long time. It's a buyer broker exclusive employment agreement. Of course, that's what we have to use. We will use what we've got. But I sent in a reason for request here, and I put in there several lines of superfluous, not needed information for a contract between the parties. And it needs to have procuring cause language in it. I wrote this all up. I don't know what they're going to do, but they may take a look at it and decide, the forms committee anyway, that they will change it. I took quite a bit of time and got that done. I think it was 3 o'clock in the morning I did that. Got all done. Here's another thing they had here. Yeah, the final walkthrough on a new build. You sell a new build house, and now we're going to have the final walkthrough on it. What is that like? And the people that bought the property went with their agent over there before this, now a week before, and everything just looks like bad. They don't like it. But does that mean anything? Yeah, it means something. You got to relax them a little bit. But here's the deal. They, after closing, you'll see it in all the contracts, have 30 days after closing, after your final walkthrough, to fix whatever it was you noted that needed to be fixed and wasn't in top shape. And so you actually go with your client and help them out on this thing a little bit, as some of them don't see how they want to go ahead and buy this property. But here's what happens. You take a roll of blue tape with you, and every time you see a spot that needs to be fixed, you write on the blue tape what needs to be done and paste it on the wall or the counter or the floor or whatever. And they've got 30 days to fix the blue tape items. So then after you do this, you actually need to take a picture of that blue tape on the wall or wherever you put it, and make sure that you record all of the flaws in a notebook. Now, me and my wife have done this several times on houses that we bought, new homes. And they take care of it. But it just isn't done right now. So they get the foreman out there and he sends men over to take care of these issues. So it's hard to accept when you're going to close on this, let's say $500,000 house. You expect me to close on it? Well, yeah, it's what you need to do. So interesting. The let's see what else we got here. One of the gals called in, and she's a property manager, and one lady there has been there for a year. She has a comfort dog. So then she went and got another one now. She says, do I have to allow that? Well, you've already got one in there. I don't know what the difference would be, but I asked her for the prescription from her doctor or whatever it is that she needs another comfort dog. And I don't know if I would charge a fee for that or not, but that's one of those things. You let too many of them get in there, then maybe that's good. Maybe it's even better, but I don't like too many dogs in property that I rent out. I told the fella, you can have the one dog that you've got there, that's fine. And then I went over to collect the rent. One time I went over there, he's got 3 of them laying in there. Oh my goodness. Well, there you go. That's what people get into you for here. All right. Here's a lady, one of our agents, and I'll read you this letter she sent. I spoke to you last week about my buyer, Pascal, and he's an immigrant from the Congo. He just received his citizenship in February. He's 23 years old and was able to purchase his first home with $40,000 cash to put down. I'm very proud of him and wanted to help him live his American dream. With this being said, you may remember our conversation that he put some money down, $2,000 towards a new build with a certain builder. And then the next day, he really didn't want to purchase that home after less than 24 hours of putting his money down. So she didn't know what to do about this. They said they would not give it back to him. Well, what the heck is this? That's a bad attitude from a builder. And so she submitted a cancellation over there and contacted the agent. The sales agent advised her that they weren't refunding his deposit because they were forced to take the property off the market for 24 hours. So it cost $22,000 to do that. She said she gathered all the documentation, text messages, phone records, emails, and with my advice, I told them that I'd be calling Channel 3 News, and it would probably be better off doing the right thing by this hardworking young man than refund his money. They referred me to their manager, and at that time, the manager apologized profusely, whatever that means, and said they made a big mistake and will reverse that decision as soon as possible. And she's thanking me for my help. So I'm glad that she was able to get this reversed, and certainly doing a good job for her client there. Wonderful. There's another message we got. I received a call from an upset buyer's agent because the listing agent was texting in during the buyer's inspection. The buyers were doing an inspection on a property, and the listing agent texted in telling the buyers to please shut the front door, make sure to put the curtains back up. And it turns out there were several cameras throughout the house, and the sellers and their agent were watching and listening to the entire event. So while it may not be advisable that the sellers do that, it is still their house, and no one can tell them they can't. But there's another point here. Somebody may be watching you. So that's something to think about as you're doing some of this stuff. Here's this. If you guys got into this knock, become a knock certified agent at West USA, this seems to be one heck of a deal. I've got all the paperwork here, frequently asked questions and everything. I hope that you guys have been able to get that. But certainly if you haven't, this is where they actually buy a house and then put their home on the market. And there is a fee. I think it's 1.25%. They will see that everything goes down the line right, and you've got like 6 months to sell your house. I think that's a heck of a program. Matter of fact, my wife is going to get certified by that. You have to attend a class or something here, and it's another tool that you've got. And I think there's 2 companies in the valley that got it, and we are one of them. So you need to think about getting into that. It's called Knock and West USA. That might be a good one. The other item I've got here that I thought was different is this house that was sold with a cesspool in it. It didn't have necessary. I think I talked about it last week. And one of the gals that knows more about septic tanks and that type of property is Kathy Rudy, and I was talking with her about it. And she looked into the MLS. She sends me back a message. She says, "Holy cow, there are 36 houses pending that were built between 1910 and 1930. So she wonders what they have in there. But actually, as I said last week, realtors should know about septic systems, that they are, a cesspool is an illegal thing since 1970. If you want this septic thing, it's just 2 pages, and I have it on my computer. Happy to send it to you. Just ask for it and I'll get it out there. Bob at Cox.net, and my clock says, shut up, go away, it's time to quit. So thank you all very much for listening. Bye-bye.